Hello, time travelers, and a very happy new year. Hope you have made a resolution to learn new things in this new year, and we are here to help you to learn new debugging and programming skills uh, in this time travel debugging podcast series. So today I have Gyanesh with me. Gyanesh has spent more than 2 decades in software industry. He has started his career as a software engineer back in 2001, and now currently he's working as a senior manager in Cisco. So welcome Gyanesh to the show, and I'm excited to talk to you today.
Thank you, Dheeraj. Thank you very much. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. And thanks for the warm welcome and introduction, Dheeraj. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Okay, so Ganesh, let's start with something what you are doing these days. So, can you let us know what you are innovating or building these days in your daily life?
Sure. So, so I'm responsible for a couple of routing platform products under Cisco Enterprise Networking. They are pretty big platform families. There are multiple platforms which we ship under those brands and those platforms. I'm responsible for a team which is like close to, let's say, around 40 people strong development team, and all of them in Bangalore. But then that's like you can imagine in Cisco, right? It takes what it takes to build a platform, right? And when I say it's 40-member team here, right? I mean this while this team is primarily responsible for everything that it takes to build a platform, right? And next generation platforms. This team works very closely with pretty much everything under the Cisco's ecosystem of hardware, software, diagnostics, manufacturing. Uh, okay, so in short, you can say my team is the one where you can say the buck stops here, right? Regardless of what kind of issue is, you know it would eventually come down to us for it to be taken to closure.
Okay, so you have a very big team. Actually, that 40 people managing them is very. I think it's a tedious job. So, as a manager, you are responsible for product and feature and people. So, what
So
determines you success? Means how you say that okay, we achieved something. What this is, we succeeded. What is your definition of it?
okay, so in short, right? In Cisco, a manager's job isn't easy. Uh, so on a lighter note, my boss keeps saying that uh, the number of things as a Cisco manager, especially if you're in platform and software development, the number of things a manager is responsible for and to track is something that he hasn't seen anywhere else, right? But okay, now coming to what I'm responsible for, right? So like I said, I'm responsible for these two platform product portfolios, right? I mean, and the platform engineering aspect of it, right, which is owned by this 40-member strong team, right? Now, what am I responsible for? There are two aspects to it, right? And just like any other company, any other project, any other product and portfolio, there are two distinct aspects to it, right? And that's true everywhere, right? I mean, one is when we say this product portfolio, but this is out there in the field. This is out there in the field. This is uh, you know, uh, at some point in time, I mean, we were close to doing a run rate of $1 billion every year, right, on these products. So one is that taking care of our customers, sustenance, customer issues, escalations, the sustenance and the customer facing aspect of it, and then of course the uh, there's always a next generation, right, forward looking.
Right.
What do you build next, right? And that's there, and it's a mix of it's a mix of both. That's what my team is responsible for. That's what my I'm responsible for. And as a software development manager, right, you are responsible for pretty much everything, right? I mean, are you looking at processes? Are you looking at workflows? Are you looking at efficacy? You need to watch out for all the metrics that organization is watching for. Are we able to respond to customer issues and escalations in a short enough time possible? Your MTTRs are there, uh, your your CSAT is there, your escalation turnaround time is there, and I can go on and on, right? But in a nutshell, yes, that's what we do day in day out.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned a very important and very interesting thing, is that customer satisfaction, CSAT, you mentioned. So it's
Yeah.
very important for any product or any service to maintain that, because that is something which will bring dollars or money in the business. So how you do that means in terms of, I'll say, product feature, or maybe some escalations, customer escalations, how you handle those things, and what kind of things you get, and how it comes to your development part.
So I'm sorry for the interruption, Dheeraj. Can you say the question again?
What I'm asking is, you mentioned that customers and customer CSAT, customer satisfaction. So how it happens means, usually if you ship some product, that is okay, everyone is building that, but how customer is getting satisfied? So what are those parameters or something?
I mean, that's one of the metric. That's one of the metrics, right? I mean, and CSAT is a very complex metric. So we can go there, but we don't need to, right? But then fact is, right? I have an issue at from a customer, right?
Mhm.
I the one of the most important metrics in that, and the simplified one is the MTTR, right? Mean time to resolve, right?
Mhm.
And at Cisco, I have been part of cases, where we have seen some of the escalations running for years, or a year, or close to a year. No,
Mhm.
no, I'm not saying that everything goes for this long,
Yeah.
right? But then there are always cases. There are always going to be cases, and I have seen, right, in last year itself, I have seen a couple of cases which have run in 9 to 10 months, nine to
Oh,
ten months,
all
right?
right. That's
And
really long.
even today we have not we have just provided some resolution towards the end of the year, but we are still awaiting feedback. So now CSAT is, like I said, is a complex metric which takes in so many different things, and you can always take a sense of the customer's pulse, right? And we do our telemetry and everything does collect that, and we can get that feedback, right? Uh, in last year, there were at least two cases, two escalations I have been personally part of.
Mhm.
One of them ran for 6 months, another one was for 9 months,
Oh.
and that's not what we want, right? I mean, that's not, and 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 in the end, right? MTTR is an important one. Right? Everybody talks about their MTTR. Hey, my MTTR is 28 days, 21 days, and we
Mhm.
always want to get that goal, right? I mean, the goal is can we get it under 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, but definitely not months,
Right. Right.
not quarters.
Right. Right. So I am really interested right now to know how you manage your MPTR, uh, because you must be getting different kind of issues. So how you manage that?
Managing is a different thing. Managing is something we don't encourage that, right? Managing is
Yes.
like, right, you can manage it, you can massage it,
Okay.
let
Okay.
do
So
to
let me
ourselves, right?
let me rephrase it. How you, what steps you take to reduce that time?
Reduce that. I mean, that boils down to something very simple, right? I mean, how quickly can you provide a resolution? That would
Mhm.
eventually depend on how quickly can you recreate in your lab,
Mhm.
right? I mean, yes, in an ideal world, we customer raises an issue, he goes to TAC, TAC will look at it, hopefully they are able to resolve it. If not, they will come to the business unit, engineering, and engineering in an ideal world should look at the logs, whatever logs customer has provided. I should look at it. 3 hours, I should say, this is what is happening. But then, let's accept it, right? I mean, we don't live in an ideal world, right? I mean,
Right. Right.
and this cycle can go on back and forth for weeks and months. No, no, I did not enable this log. I need these additional logs. Get me this new iteration. Now you don't know when the issue happens next time. again, bottom line is, how quickly, in an ideal world, if you can get it recreated in the lab, and it could be any lab, right? At times it's fine, even if many a times there have been customers who said, look guys, it's in my lab, and I can
Mhm.
provide you with everything, no constraints, no
Mhm.
constraints of it being a production system, and then system going down because of whatever you're going to be trying. You are free to try everything, right? And that makes it easier. So bottom line is, I think if you're able to, either you're logging in, systems are so great that, and also your
You get it.
engineers, right? Just look
Yeah.
at it, solve the problem, all happy, customer satisfaction, uh,
Mhm.
um, um, breaks the ceiling. But then,
Right.
I would like to know if there are places where this happens. Okay, but in a more
I have never seen that customer gives you 100% access. Okay, take my production server and try everything.
in a more practical world, that's not how it works, right?
Mhm. Right.
Now, in fact, if you would want, I want to share a story here, right? And
Yeah.
can I take a couple of minutes
Yes,
here?
yes, sure, sure, sure. Go ahead, please, please.
So, in fact, my journey with Undo started exactly 30 months ago,
Mm-hmm.
sometime in June of 2021. We were
Mm-hmm.
in midst of the COVID, everyone working from home. Uh, I think in April 2021, someone had presented in Cisco that we are bringing in this tool. Just like everybody is skeptical, right? To start with, right? We said, okay, this is very interesting, but then we realized that it's very interesting and sounds very powerful, right? We tried few things. I think we played around. He said, okay, we'll see, right? 2 months later, we have an escalation from one of our very big service provider customers, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and and then we put in our best engineers, both in my team, my organizations, my immediate organizations, and also, right, in Cisco, that's one good thing, right? When you have an escalation, the whole world will come and help you in the
Right.
best
Yes.
possible manner, right? And
Yes.
the team boundaries, the organization boundaries, all those take secondary seat, right? That's
Right.
great thing, right? So we also involved some of the distinguished engineers, principal engineers, and we put every single tool at our disposal
Mm-hmm.
had in Cisco. We threw everything at it, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Malloc tracing, checking those headers, some instrumentations, whatnot, everything.
Right.
And
Okay.
and of course, we are not successful. We are not able to recreate it, right? But in one of the labs,
Mm-hmm.
um, one of the customer-facing folks, they were able to recreate it.
Oh.
They were able to recreate it,
Hmm.
and we said, uh, now in today's situation, right? I mean, I would have immediately gone to the and said, guys, let's use the tool, right? Right.
Right.
Now you have to imagine. I mean, you have to put yourself in my shoes, right? Back then, we had never used this tool. We have
Right.
exhausted all our options, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are with our backs against the wall, right?
Right.
And escalation is a pressure, especially if it's coming from some of the big customers, right?
Right.
I asked one of my teams, and I saw he liked my post. I think this podcast post I did earlier. He was an engineer,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, "Hey, so and so, why don't we try this? What have we got to lose?" And he said, "Okay, we have never tried this, but let's try. I mean, yeah, we'll have to do something, some changes." I think we did that, and we reached out to this engineer who was in France, and in his lab, he was able to kind of some sort of consistency, he was able to see it. I said, just
Mm-hmm.
send out the image. He sends him the image, and we instrumented it. I think, yeah. So we did not use the undo command line option. I think we used this uh, the linking option of your libraries and other things for instrumented. It was the
Mm-hmm.
first time. I mean, yeah, we were doing so. Maybe we could have done it differently. We did that. Next morning, I come. He drops me. I see his message. He says that he has. We have got something, some recording. I mean, so we actually recreated. I said, "Wow, I'm very excited. What do we have?" By afternoon, he says that I think I kind of know what's the problem. by I think by afternoon he had
Hmm.
replayed the recordings,
Hmm.
and I said, "Give me more." And by evening we had the RTA.
Oh wow,
Right?
great.
Now the story doesn't stop here, right? Because
Hmm.
I'm going to ask questions to my team, right? That's also part of my job, right? And
Right,
I said,
right.
Look, so we spend so much of money, right? Also on the static analysis tool. Okay, just for the for the viewers to get the context, it was a memory corruption. Every single
Hmm.
time, it would show a totally different core file, back traces, tracebacks, entirely different location from the previous one, and just like any other memory corruption, it's as hard as it gets. And then I asked him that, okay, okay, so the issue was it was a free after a use after free, leading to corruption. It was some memory
Oh.
pointer which was
Hmm.
free, which was getting freed up and valid, and then again being messed up and used somewhere. It's as simple as that. And then
Right.
I asked the engineer that, but isn't this what we use? And the code construct was so simple, which prompted me to question my team that, why is this not flagged by the static analysis tools?
Right. And
And
you.
we did take it up with the static analysis folks, their support team, and they said the way this code construct is written,
Hmm.
slightly, I believe that is what made it harder for the static analysis to detect that. And that's why
Right.
we are not it's our bug.
Hmm.
And that's only then we said, okay, now we understand every single thing. And this is the true RCA, right? And the other thing is,
Right.
once you get there, right, there's no if, there's no but, there's no I think, there's no we think, there's no I suspect, right?
Hmm.
It is what it
Right.
is. Something
Right.
you
You
can
got the
validate.
exact answer.
Yeah. So that's very special to me. And that was the day like 2.5 years ago. And since then we have never looked back, right? And and you can also say that it's in a way it's part of my team's workflow. Every single time there's an issue, we quickly evaluate, okay, is this something we can use the tool here? Answer is yes in most cases.
Hmm.
Go do it. We don't want to I
Right.
don't want my team to be doing the poor man's debugging, something that we did earlier when we did not have this, right? I
Yes.
mean,
Yes.
I do not want to. It's simple, right? I mean, I have an issue. I think the most important part is if you are able to get it recorded. That's it. That's
That's
where
right.
the
And yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Please.
that special to us, and I think that's where everybody needs that one case, one single case where the tool is going to make you successful, and then you're going to have that conviction always, and you're never going to look back. And it's exactly how this played out for my team.
Yeah. Actually, I'm very much impressed what you said right now, because what I feel is usually debugging is treated as a byproduct kind of thing. People think, okay, someone can dig into and look into that. No one think to spend money on the debuggers or some paid tools. So I think
So Dean, I
you
would
gave a
say
very
that.
good reason.
So I would say, that's true, right? But then, we look at it, right? We also we do have a lot of things, a lot of tools, especially a lot of money is spent. We do, and for right reasons, right? I mean, the two tools, right, or the classes of tools, if I should say, right? I
Hmm.
mean, static analysis has its own place. I don't think
Right,
there's any. We are talking about one replacing the other, right? I mean,
right,
both are two different domains, and they have their
right.
own places without encroaching each other, right? I mean, and but then but then to your comment, right? I have I've been working for 22 years now.
Mhm.
I haven't come across a tool which would do something like this. Now, you know, uh, so that's all I would say, right? In fact, I have also asked some of my team, right? And once we had this one success, right? And it was a success, the very first case, right? And that makes it
Right,
special.
right,
And then it's like it's all the job is done, right? You from one engineer, you ask the other engineer, try. And some of the interesting feedbacks I got, right? I mean, so I asked one of the engineers, right? That was for one of the classic textbook dining philosophers, deadlock. And that deadlock
Right.
would happen so early in the boot up of the system that there are no logs enabled, no tracing is still enabled, and the system is getting into a deadlock, classic textbook deadlock, even before the uh, you know fully system full system has booted. Now imagine, no logs, no trace, no consoles, no prints, just silent deadlock. And every time you have to start the hardware, restart, reboot the hardware, reload the hardware, power cycle the hardware. And then another engineer, she came. You can exactly get down to, you could see, you can visualize, you can draw it once you know the RCA, once you know the recording, once you've replayed it, right? And I
Right.
asked her, okay, what's your feedback, since this was your first time. And she said that, Ganesh, if it was not for this tool, I don't know how many images I would have built. And I agree.
Right.
She doesn't know. I can answer that question, right? It would have ended in hundreds. And
Obviously.
even then, so there was another team member, when he had his first success with this tool, I asked him, what's your feedback? And he said, I mean, did you like it? He says, what is there not to like it? Right. So I think, once you do that, there have been some other interesting comments. Some of my team members said, Ganesh, hopefully this tool doesn't make us dumb, okay? Because then we'll forget every other way of traditional debugging. So I said, so it's right. But then again, right, like I said, one has to have that one success, right? I mean, we can all do a lot of tech talks, we can do a lot of podcasts, we can do a lot of sessions in person, we can demonstrate, we can do all that. But I'll tell you, none of that works. None of that works. The only thing,
Hmm.
and this is why I also very firmly believe that this is where your first level leaders, right? First level line managers, you call it, or first level leaders who are directly interfacing with the teams on a day-to-day basis for every
Hmm.
single issue, whether internal, external, customer, uh, test. They need to have this conviction. They need to have this conviction, and they need to pass on this conviction to their teams. Just couple of engineers, not even whole team. You just see uh, the thing, and then you see the plant growing. Right, just a couple of
Right.
engineers, and it's like, and that's exactly how I've seen. But then again, you need to try this. You need to try. You need to have this. That uh, it can make you successful. It will make you successful, right? And then from then on, one engineer to two engineer to 40 organizations, it just just
Hmm.
just picks
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. So it's because you experience that, so you know the value, you know the how easy it is to use. So obviously it goes from one to other. Yeah. Uh, so
Absolutely.
uh, so you said it's almost 23 months, right? 23 months
It's
you are
two
using
half,
this?
it's 30
Two and a
months
half years.
now.
Okay. Oh, 2.5 years you are using this tool. So you talked about the good part of this tool. I would like to know, is there anything which you want to improve or you did not like much or something? Maybe you got some feedback from your team.
Okay, so before I go to what I see, first of all, that's not a, the more than the feedback, I would say, there's some of the wish list, and a wish list doesn't have to be necessarily very rational, right? I mean, always, right? I also understand, you can't be defying the laws of physics, right? I mean, there's an underneath technology, right? Based
Mhm.
on which the works. I think Adu team has presented to us many a time. I understand that, right? So you can't be defying speed of light and laws of physics, right? Tool is going to do what it is meant for, right? So
Mhm.
first thing is, you're not going to solve world hunger problem with this, right? I mean, you're going to say that, I'm going to put it in regression where multiple processes are there. I mean, for example, our systems, right? It's a Linux based system, right?
Mhm.
It runs hundreds of processes, or let's say tens of processes of interest, tens of Linux processes.
Mhm.
Someone comes up with an idea that, I want to put it in regression. Yeah, but then your resources are also finite, right? So I'm trying to say is that, don't try to solve world hunger problem. Don't try to look at what it what it might not be able to do. It may be able to, it might not be able to, right? But look at what it solves for you, right? I think that's where I have seen a lot of these conversations getting lost,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and die down. Oh, yeah, this is fine, but this doesn't do this. Yeah, okay, but then let's do the math, right? I mean, a lot of people I have seen, I have seen in some conversations, they'll say, it doesn't solve my performance and scale problems. Yeah, okay, but then if you are a manager, and if you have, let's say, you're fixing 100 issues in a year, how many of them are performance and scale? Maybe 10%. You can still use
Mm-hmm.
90% of the cases where it can be helpful, right? I think that outlook is very important, right? And that's why I said, this is where the first level leaders, their conviction
Mm-hmm.
plays a lot, right? Coming
Okay.
to some of the feedback, right? I think first and foremost, I think the way our collaboration has been with Aldu's support, right, and especially some of the engineers like Emiliano and others, I think phenomenal, right? Phenomenal. Uh, they are just a call away, right? I'll try
Mm-hmm.
to give you an interesting data. I think of all the bugs or issues or features that we have tried to solve or resolve using the tool, I think there have been only three cases in last 2.5 years which I remember. And then just remember that when I say this, right, I mean, we're talking about a count of hundreds, not tens and
Mm-hmm.
twenties, and right. I mean, we're talking about multi hundreds, right? There have been two or three cases which I remember where we were not able to solve, right, and they were timing related, and that's understandable, right? I mean, that's fine. But then am I going to be looking at those two out of 200 cases and say the tool doesn't work, or am I going to look at that 10% of my uh, you know uh, 10% of my all the issues that I need to work on, which are performance or scale related, where the tool may not help? That's the
Mm-hmm.
call you have to take as a leader, and that's why you need to have that context, you need to have that understanding, you need to have some of your folks try it. So that's a very small number, right? And we understand why it doesn't work, right? I mean, that's the underneath technology, right? So again, I mean, that's not something I'm going to be complaining about, right? Where it comes, right, what we would want more, right? I mean, and that's something, one of the things that we have done is, or we have not been able to do, and it's more from our side than undo is, right? I mean, we have had issues where we could clearly see that customer is facing an issue. They are seeing it every day or two or three or something, with let's call it with a great deal of consistency. And we always knew deep down our heart, watching the problem, that if we could put the tool there, right, we could solve it in a day,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then we are not
Right.
able to, because there are security considerations, there are license requirements, there are so many other. I think the team is aware of it, right? So there are license things, there are, like, sensitivities around customer, I mean, our own workflow, what if we are taking the customer's data out, and things like that, right? But then that's where, right, if I, from where I see, right, I think in all these engagements, that would be the next level to get to,
Mm-hmm.
where you can use systems, where you can use the tool in production systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. But then when you go to productions, you need to be very careful, right? I mean, in a lab, some command line can go wrong, some things can go wrong, systems can reboot, you can recover, nothing, uh, nothing catastrophic happens. But then all these things, when you're going to be trying in a customer's environment, where he's saying, this should not happen, my system should not reboot, uh, this
Mm-hmm.
should not impact me functionally. I think that is where the tool would need to go, right? It would need to be,
Mm-hmm.
for example, I know cases where if you give some wrong parameters, right, how much memory you are giving for the recording to be
Right.
stored. If you give it wrong,
Mm-hmm.
I think it does get into out of memory, and I'm saying, all these things would need to be hardened, right? In a customer's
Mm-hmm.
production system, none of them, whether you're able to record your problem or not, whether you're able to, that becomes secondary. The primary thing
Right.
is you don't break the system down, right? I think that's how I see. as where it would need to eventually go.
Right, right. So I think these tools, these timetable debuggers in general, because there are multiple. I'll not say so many, but there are one from for Windows system. We have for in WinDBG we have this time travel debugging thing, and for JavaScript we have one. I think these softwares, they add some delay, also some performance impact. So that is also, I think, one concern to use in a production system. So have you Miss, do you also think same, or you have any other?
I'll answer it differently and also related to how I. Hello. Yeah. Okay. It just froze for a second. Okay.
Oh,
So part of it I answered in my previous response, but then I'll say again, right? And this is another thing, right? This is why I always say, right? Try to look what it can do, right? We have presented this to me, and every time you present, right? I don't know why. I don't know why. Suddenly the focus would go to no, this cannot. I cannot put this in my CI/CD pipeline. I cannot put this in my regressions. I cannot put this in. I cannot. This cannot. This is not going to be useful for my performance. This is not going to be useful for my scale. But then again, the math is simple. I mean, you're still able to use it for 90% of your issues. And is that not a good enough motivation or incentive for leaders to start encouraging, right? But then that set aside, right, the other thing that often comes, right, is about, oh no, this the tool does underneath under the hood, it does a lot of instrumentation and whatnot, and it adds delays. What is the number of the delay? Right, in fact, in one of the present once we were presenting to larger teams in Cisco, and this was the question. And I'm not an undo developer, right? I can't answer that question, right? And I don't
hmm.
need to answer the question, right? And what I and my response was, look, guys, I don't have the exact number. I'm sure it does add some cycles. I don't know whether it's 10%, 20%, 30%, but it's not like, definitely not like those old days val grinds, right? Where system would come to a grinding halt, right?
Right,
So it's not
right.
that. And then second data I gave is, of all the issues I have seen, even some timing issues, there have been only two times, twice or thrice, where I have not been
Hmm.
able to successfully get a recording with the problem, with the issue.
Yeah.
There have been
So
three cases at max, or two, I would say, where
mhm.
the moment I try to recreate the issue with the tool, we couldn't. But that's okay. I'm going to live with
Right.
it. I'm going to live with it.
So, so what you said is that in 2.5 years, only two issues you
Yeah.
were not able to reproduce using
You
this
can say
time
you
travel.
know, the,
So that's,
it's
I
very
think,
small.
acceptable. Hmm.
Absolutely,
That,
absolutely,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Now I want to look at those two, or I want to look at the other 98. The choice is simple. It's
Right. Yeah. So means, as you said correctly, that we should look into the positive part, means what a tool can do rather than what it cannot do. So here is one comment from I would just want to mention that in our LinkedIn, we got one comment from Ken. So he says that focus on same, he what you said, he quoted that focus on what tool can do. So Ken is actually he is our last time guest, uh, and he's also working on time travel debugger. So okay, so here means what I feel is you are very much satisfied with this technology, these kind of tools. So I want to know one thing. So it's almost 10 years this technology is there, somewhere in 2012 or between 2012 to 2015 this technology got introduced. So haven't you heard about it ever, or just you did not try that, or whatever?
no. I'll tell you, right. I'll answer that, right, and I answered that with the exact timelines, right. So I'm amazed, right. I mean, I am amazed when I was amazed when I found out that the tool and the technology has been in existence for so long, for over a decade. And
Mhm.
I was wondering, uh, why did we not know? I still don't have answer. Okay, to that. Why did we not know, or how did we not know? Okay, and I even asked my wife. She works in a competitor of ours. Okay, and she works in this, compilers and tools, right? And
Mhm.
she said yes, the technology exists. And she talked to me about RR, right? What is it called? There's some open
Yeah,
source stuff on
there is one. Yeah, RR.
yeah,
RR is the one.
yeah, RR, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, something she mentioned. And I said, it sounds so wonderful. Why are there no tools? And she said the support, this, that, etc. And she deals with tools and compilers and tool chains, right? And I said, okay,
Mhm.
fine. But that was my only, uh, you know, mm, only knowledge or awareness about this technology, right? But then,
Mhm.
now I think, why did it come to us, so long, in let's say, okay, so first time when my team got a presentation from Andu was in April 2021. April 21. Yeah, I remember very distinctly. We were first month into the COVID lockdowns in India. We were sitting,
Mhm.
I think one fine evening, it was around 6:30, and I have always wondered, right, if the technology and the tools have been existing for so long, how come, I mean, and we're not talking about some small company, right? We're talking about Cisco. It's pretty big,
Mhm.
right? And
Right.
even in Cisco, right, it came to us like, what, 2021. I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. But again, I before that I did not know that, so long. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that is something we want to make the awareness that there is some technology, and there is something which is useful for everyone. Okay, so Ganesh, we talked about this. Now we come to the another section, is another mode in this episode. And I want to share something, is one of my feeling when I was having 2 3 years of experience, and I used to get any kind of issue to fix. And I used to get panicked sometime that if I am not getting the solution, because usually C++ projects are little big number of, in terms of number of lines and number of files. So, and I believe at that time when you have 2 3 years of experience, means you get scared by seeing so many so big code base. So how you used to deal those kind of situations, because maybe still the new generation, they might be facing those kind of issues. So I want to know now how you see that, how you felt at that time, if you face that, and if means how you will deal now in those kind of situations.
Okay. So is this a question for me or my team, or how did I how
I
did
mean,
I cope up things like this? Yeah. So
it's totally, means open. It's open question. Means maybe you saw someone in your team who faced such kind of things. So how you will suggest them?
I'll answer it. Free flowing, 3 4 parts without probably a structure. But then let's like
Mhm.
just to your comment on very large code, right? Cisco, when I joined 10 years ago, 12 years ago, in the induction they used to say that it's 55 million lines of code or something. I haven't measured it, but then why would you not believe it? Okay. So to your I'm responding to your specific comment on larger code, right?
Mhm.
Such a large code base. I don't know how many more companies would have code bases larger than this, right? But then, okay. Second thing, right? Even today, right? You know, like I said, the organization and the role, um, and responsibilities my team has, right? Like I said, the buck stops here, right? I have to deal with a lot of code and unknowns, which my team, my engineers may not even have seen it, right? They're not even responsible for it, but just because my team and I am responsible for this product portfolio, right? I have
Mhm.
no choice but to step up, go go deal with the unknown, figure out a way, and solve it, right? So all I'm trying to say is, even today, right, we have to do that. I mean, I in my role and for for my team, we still have to deal with this large code base, very large code base, and the
Mhm.
unknowns, right? But then,
Right.
you know, and but then that's what the job demands, right? Now
Mhm.
you can still do that. We used to still do that, but now we have the tool, right? Now coming to, in fact, we just solved, last just before the shutdown, we solved something, that was a classical, right?
Mhm.
And and it was interesting in a way that, it was totally different from what we were, or where we were searching, or where we were thinking the problem was. Right, totally off. It's like one of those, MS370 crashes, right? Someone said, it went and crashed in Himalayas. Someone said, no, 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 it was in southern
Mhm.
Indian Ocean, and someone said, somewhere in near the coast of Africa, right? It
Right.
was very similar to that. But then, and we were able to finally then, create some test case, verify it, step through the code using undo and whatnot, right? But then bottom line is, from the very beginning in my career early, and to your point, Dheeraj, it cannot happen. It just did not happen only with someone who is, relatively early in career and things like that. It can happen to, us, some, very seasoned professionals as well. It just has to be a nasty customer escalation, and you're going to feel the same that you felt like 20 years ago, right?
Right. Right. Okay.
Right.
So,
So it can,
so
but then back then, right? I mean, I'm saying, I just want to say, so I've been this, right, even 20 years ago, right? Back then we had these homegrown tools which would reduce, not exactly this, not exactly time travel, pseudo time travel, where you could checkpoint some sequence until certain, then you could go back step, not as powerful as this, but then this I'm talking about 2005, 2004, right? So idea is, and when and and one important thing that I want to make point is, right, I mean, a leader's job, right, is also like, marshaling your troops, which is your team, into a battlefield,
right.
right? Now whether
Okay.
they are whether that battlefield is a customer issue, customer escalation, something else, whatever it could be. And then, my simple point is, if there are tools available, if there is ammo available, wouldn't you arm them, arm your troops, read it as team, with the best in class
Right.
available? If you're
Right.
not, you're putting them at a disadvantage, right? And
Right.
yeah, so again, boils down to the same conviction that I talked about earlier.
Hmm. Right, right. That's absolutely right. Means if it is your own troops, and then equip them with a better tools and better ammunition, if possible. Right, obviously. So okay, one hypothetical question. Okay, so you are in this industry, software industry, for more than 2 decades. Now, if let's say I give you an opportunity to time travel back in your early days and give some advice to yourself. So, what is something you want to advise yourself for your career in programming and debugging, or whatever?
I don't know. That's a very tricky one. I don't know. I need to go back in time and then use time travel. Okay, yeah, it sounds very complicated, but then let's simplify this, right? Uh, so, like I said, I've been, great fan of, using the right tools, right? And in uh, everything, right? Uh, Now, the only thing is, only thing, if I had to go back, right, I would go 12 years ago, right, or even earlier, right? I mean, it's like, why did I not have these tools back then, right?
Hmm.
It's simple,
Right.
right? It's like, how did we miss out, or why did we miss out? Second thing is, I have always believed, and that's going to be, this can be controversial or debatable,
Yep.
is, you know, you can, it's a lot easier to, write new code.
Hmm. Right.
Okay,
Right. Mm.
it's the hardest to debug something, like Cisco's 50 million lines of code, or whatever is the latest number of millions of code.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Where it could be anywhere, right? For me, right? I mean, one thing that's been, and I can easily go back to my earlier days, and very early in career days also. I have always believed that debugging is a skill, is a special art, is an art or skill. I don't know. We can say anything that we want to, but that needs a special something. I don't know what is it.
Right.
Right? We can all write code. We can all write code. Little better, little less. Design is another thing, which is like which comes with a lot of experience, skills, observing things over. That's what you call experience, right? But
Right.
debugging is a special skill, knack. You have it early in your career. You build on top of it, and you get better and better. But then there's never a guarantee that you know you can solve every issue. Sometimes you're going to be stuck. Very often, maybe, right?
Right.
So that's like that is something I have believed, I have seen, I have observed, and I think I've seen this consistently, right? You can find a lot of great coders, but not a lot of
Hmm.
people who can, because debugging is about imagination, right?
Right.
Creating hypotheses, creating
Yes.
tests to prove them, to disprove them, making the
Hmm.
next hypothesis, and an iterative process at times, right? And again, like it's like, why did we not have the tool back then?
Right. Right. And the thing is, the more you the more you debug, actually you get more logical thinking while debugging. You also get to know that, okay, this is someone's code. You said that writing new code is easier, but what I'll say here is, at the same time, reading someone's code is also same importance, because you learn lots of things, new things to do, and you learn lots of things what not to do when you are
Absolutely.
writing. Because not miss it's not like you if you, let's say, you have 55 million lines or any code base, not each piece of code will be perfect,
Yep.
because that may be perfect for that particular situation, use case. But now use case is changed, and now this code is maybe it's not useful altogether. So this is I think this is a skill, and we should start building at in the early stage, that okay, how to change this. That change is a very tough part. How to
And
change the existing code,
yeah,
that's a very
and
tough part.
and that reminded me of a very interesting use case, right? I mean, another thing, right? I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would have talked about this, but then still, right? So one fine day, we had some transition happening in the team, and we had to pick some new code, new component, new modules, process, whatever you want to call it. And then
Mhm.
I spoke to one of my engineers, and it just happens that both of us reach office very early, it's like 7:30, 7:45, and we bump into each other in the cafeteria. Next day we again meet, right? And then I start the discussion about we have to own this component like we talked about yesterday. Did you check something? And then look at the way he surprises me. He said, Ganesh, I have done the recording of this whole code process, execution, flow, and I'm going step by step, and I'm learning the code. I'm learning what it is. And I said, yeah, well, people told me that it's just a debugging tool. Okay, all I'm saying is, yeah, I mean, you can find so many use cases, right? I mean,
Right.
and that's again, in my opinion, in my honest opinion, is a very understated use case. We
Right.
all have, we all have to go through this very often, very often, right?
Right.
People leaving, people transitioning, new people, new folks joining in. You always need to, people, and what better a way for someone to, get ramped up using the tools.
Right, right. That's a very nice use case you mentioned right now. This one. So when you use these kind of travel debuggers, you get the execution flow, because that is something in a big code base. It becomes very complex, that to understand a newcomer or new joiner, to understand, okay, what is happening, which call we are making, from where to where system is moving. So recordings gives you that kind of feel. So that I also agree with you. Okay, so Ganesh, now moving to our next section, which is a rapid fire. So I will give you four words one by one, and you will have to give your first thought, whatever comes in. Okay, so are you ready for this?
Okay, that's going to be a tough one, it seems. Okay,
No,
go ahead.
it's these are very simple words. So what do you think is a programming?
CDT, coding, debugging, testing, or D could be for
Okay,
designing also. But I want debugging. Okay, yeah, you can put it any order.
okay, okay, okay. And next one is bug.
Um, Bug. Uh, I'll pass it. I have so
Okay,
many.
okay,
Some of the funny ones is like one of my VPs used to say, "Bug is Bhagwan. Bug is Bhagwan." You know,
okay,
me, I wasn't sure whether to say that or not, but okay, in the end, yeah, bug is your feature dressed it. I don't know. Yeah, okay, let's skip this. Okay,
okay, okay. And okay, what is productivity?
productivity is everything that you need to do to make your organizational metrics look good and true in true sense, without managing them in codes. You understand?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I got it. Got it. Yeah. And okay, we talked a lot about this word, but if I ask you to summarize it in one line or two line, so you can do that. What is this debugging?
It's an art. It's a skill. You can't teach someone.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's like you have it, you don't have it. You can get better at it, but then again, there are so many things, right? The tools, the people you work with, the tips, the tricks, the things that you pick from them. It's an art.
and it's never ending learning, this debugging.
I get the greatest kick out of that. Okay, of all the software functions.
Okay, so for today we discussed Gyanesh experience with this time travel debugging, his career, his approaches. So I'm now asking our viewers if they have any question for Gyanesh, so you can ask. I see few comments, but these are not questions. I don't know. These are some discussions going on there. So okay, I think someone might have asked that about something. Tool. So we have few time travel debuggers for Windows system. If someone is using, we have time travel debugger embedded in WinDBG. And for Unix, this we have this undo, and there is one open source tool RR. And for JavaScript, I think there is one replay .io. There is one tool for all these tools are time travel debuggers, and they work on, I believe, on a almost on a same concept. Okay, let's wait for. Okay, so if anyone have any question, please ask in the comment section. We'll get to know if you have any question. So you must be having one comment section below this stream video. So we have last 5 minutes. If someone have any question, or seems there is no question for now, Gyanesh. So I think it is fine. And just a minute. Okay, okay. Let's wait for some time. Yeah, there is some delay maybe. So let's wait for some time. But I like your this statement that focus on the tool what it can do, because that is something very important, because by default I think human nature is to find out what it cannot do, what is the drawback. So we human looks into those areas, uh, but I think it's good to look into good part first, and then maybe you can look into those what we can improve. That's open.
And this is not something, I just it just came to my head doing this. I've seen it, I've experienced it, and this is something I've seen consistently, and that's where, I have been. It's been so hard for me to understand that why why is it that, we're just trying to find out where the tool would fail, and I have never been able to understand that.
Hmm. So, okay, there is one question here came in, and that question is: do you keep any trace over long term, or throw out as soon as issue is debugged and resolved?
So so you know I can answer it. It'll be a little longer answer, but then what we do is, right. First and foremost, right. Let's quickly gloss over the workflow, right. An issue comes. We look at, a typical Cisco workflow or something. They're like, a number of teams, right, and many times, right, when you look at the issue, right, it's not even clear that who is eventually going to be looking into it, right. Some team starts by triaging it, then it moves so many different components, comes back, and and wrong components, forwards, movements, whatnot, right, and eventually it leads to, hopefully, the right team or the right component that would eventually fix it, right. And this is our typical workflow, right. This is how I'm sure it's in most of the companies or places, right. A little of better, little worse. That said, right, but then look at the cost of it, right. Look at the cost. The cost is every time I need to recreate the issue, every time we work on hardwares, right. These are hardware systems, big power sucking, power hungry systems. Every time, I need to request a test engineer to recreate it, whatnot, right.
Mhm.
But when my dev engineer is there, test engineer in some other geography, all the stars need to align for every time the problem to be recreated. Then it goes to
Right.
another component. This team X says that, I have looked into it, my component is clean. Team Y needs to take a look at it. Team Y goes, they again start all over the again, right. Same test engineer, test bed, everything needs to align for the second recreate, right. And all this, right, what we have started doing, and that's been very time saving, as you can imagine, right. One team records it, right. Whoever is getting to triage or look into that issue first, they take the
Mhm.
recording, and you pass this recording as the token. No need to again switch on your routers, recreate the issue. You don't know whether you'll be able to. You don't know when, my day, his night, my day. He's busy, he's looking into his priority, my priority. You can imagine, right. All that gets shunted out with this. We have done
Mhm.
this regardless of which team has taken it. The same thing gets circulated as the bug moves, right.
Right.
And that's a
Mhm.
great deal of, you can't imagine. Yeah. And I believe that this is equally important everywhere else too, but in Cisco you can't imagine, the level of efficiency it brings in,
Mhm.
right.
Right.
So
Because
that's one.
at least
But
it
to the
solves your
Go ahead.
it solves your that you everyone don't have to again and again reproduce the thing. So that's really, yeah,
Yes,
good
right,
thing.
aligning everything, right. So now to the
Mm.
specific question, whether do we archive. Now I'll answer this in two parts, right. One is, so just like, the any issue that we are working or I'm working or my team is working on can be broadly classified into two issues, in a set of two kinds, right. One is, there's something called as, it's a customer found defect, it's a customer issue, so on, right. And one is internal images we don't archive, right, because you can always build those images, rebuild those images,
Mhm.
etc. And there's always a time and space constraint, right. Space, how many, I mean, each workspace is around 500 GBs, right. So you don't archive those, right, but then you can always recreate those things, when you want. Customer things we always archive, right?
Right.
Right. The images we archive, we also try to I mean, there's no process around archiving the replays, sorry, recordings, if you meant that. But we keep it, but the images are always there. We can always go back, revisit, if if the need arises. Someone wants to validate, someone wanted to check, okay, the fix and the RC is not adding up. I want to relook at it. You can do all that. But then recordings we are not archiving at the moment. Maybe we'll start doing that. But the images
No.
are all there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is one more question. How do you convince the thousand other engineers in your team to use it?
If I had 1,000 people, I would be VP. I would be VP of engineering, not
Mm.
not manager, right?
So how you will convince them?
So I yeah, like I answered that, Dheeraj. I don't have 1,000 people to convince, right? And that's where you need to go back to what I said earlier, right? I don't think you can drive this down at 1,000 level. You still need to do bottoms up here, right?
Mhm.
That's where I talked about when I said that your first level leaders, right, who are walking shoulder to shoulder with your engineers who are actually working and solving these
Hmm.
bugs, issues, cases, whatnot, right? They need to
Right.
have this connection. And if you cannot, right, because at when you talk about 1,000 people, you're talking about someone doing it at level of VP engineering, senior director engineering, or senior. You cannot drive that down. Until your first
Mhm.
level line managers have tasted success, are convinced about it, have the conviction, right? And
Right.
that's the way you build, right? You build at these leaf nodes, build up hierarchy, and then you can see, I have, if you're a VP, SVP, having thousands of people, then you can say, right? That's the way to, convince, if you want to say. But then again, it has to come bottoms up. You
Right.
cannot,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Because those people
But
who are actually dealing, they should be comfortable with the tool or technology. Then they themselves will advocate that, okay, no, this is a good tool, we should use it, and they will tell others as well. Yeah, that's
yes,
right.
like I said,
So, guys, if you have any further questions, you can write to me on LinkedIn, or you can tag Andu or me or Gyanesh. So we all are here, so you can ask any question anytime. This recording will be always available on this LinkedIn event page. You can come back. You can watch anytime, and you can ask any question anytime in future as well. So with this, Ganesh, yeah, Ganesh, you have.
I still have one parting comment. Okay, I want to make one, right? And 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 this is important, right? And this is very important, more important for leaders, right? People who are dealing with teams, right, regardless of the size. You know, while this tool will make you think, or will act like a level playing field, sort of, if you would want to call. Probably it will bridge the gap between the most brilliant engineer and probably an average engineer. But still, what you cannot take away is, still your better engineer, the best of your engineer, the best performer in your team will solve it in a day versus um, the one who is, still, average, he's not your top performer, he'll solve it in 5 days, right? All I'm saying is, it's never going to take away this this individual part of it, right? You're
Hmm.
not going to be you're not going to be able to take out completely the human part of it, right? I have personally seen, right,
Hmm.
cases where despite the tool and despite the success of having recreated the problem with the tool and a good recording, replayable recording, people struggle because, again, like I said, debugging is about I can give you one concrete example for one of the cases where they said, uh, the engineer gave me an update that it's it's something like, some bitmaps are changing, some addition is happening, some deletion is happening, but then later I see it's again added, something like that, and I asked him, how are you debugging, right? So
Hmm.
he said, of course I'm using undo, which is great because there's no other answer expected there. uh,
Hmm.
And why is it taking time? Why does it take so long then? Oh, you know what?
Mhm.
I'm doing undo, but then I'm doing single stepping. You're not going to get there. If you're going to
Right.
use a bullet train like a bullock cart,
Mm.
you have lost the game. You lost it.
Right.
So then we prompted him to look. There's a bitmap problem. That must be some memory, some location, some watch point, some memory breakpoint. Would that not help in an hour? He has the RTA. So point is, you'll still need your engineers to put in their best imaginative thinking skills they need to bring to the table. That's not going to go away. But then yes, I mean, mm, you'll always see still the difference. You give the same tool to different folks, they'll still produce you with different results. But then bottom line is those results across the spectrum will still be better than what you will get without the tool. Right? That's the point.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually a right conclusion as well, because that there this will make some difference. Just you have to try it and feel it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so with this, Ganesh, thank you for joining us here in this second episode of Time Travel Debugging. And everyone, please stay tuned, and we'll come back with the next episode in next month.
You cannot push this top down. You cannot push it down
Right.
people's throats. Right?
Yeah,
Has to
yeah.